All right, I've got a little deck that came up in building for a special event we'll be presenting sometime here on the channel. There's a little bit of synchronization happening, but it does revolve around V5. So what I have for you is the first deck that I'm going to end up playing in this set of matches. This is a Venture with a hint of Salubri deck. So here we're playing Apakun to play along with several Adventure here. Apakun is a little bit of a cost. He is 5 pool that you're going to have to use to bring forward. So that can create a little bit of a downside for you in that you're not going to be able to utilize any venture cards with him. He is going to take time to bring him out. But ultimately, Apakun is going to give you a lot of advantage, especially because we're playing a sort of stickmen style deck. So here we've got Alexa Draper, Kevin Jackson, Alice Chen, Sibrin, and Horst. All of these guys, obviously the major princes of the current V5 Ventrue clan. Over here in the cards, you've got, of course, your regular voting support. You got the Elysium. You've got the Ventrue headquarters. We're running the one closed session. I didn't want to run a lot of these. I feel like this is useful when you really need to get something off. Otherwise, the rest of the game, you should be able to talk your way out of it. If you can't, you're probably in a pretty bad shape anyway, and this may not even help you in a lot of those cases, especially in the way V5 is put together. So you're probably going to be using more Perfect Paragon, which is going to be really the card that you're going to see a lot more your vote push come through. Running a small amount of voter caps. I didn't want to go overboard on this because we're not running a lot of political actions and we're not likely to end up in a situation where these political actions are going to really turn the game for us. We kind of do want to be at a lower pool here because we do want to be able to parity shift. Along the rest of the master package, we got a little surprise in Island of Yaros just to give us a little bit of an advantage here and there. A Pentex aversion to make sure we've got a little lockout system for key vampires we don't want to deal with. You got Papian because it's just really good when you got this many princes. Single Perfectionist is all we're running here. I don't think this is as good a card to run, but if you got one of them and you happen to get in that one hunt action here or there for 2, it's kind of nice. Solid's Guiding Wisdom is basically turning Apakun into a short-term voter who can also turn off the votes of somebody else or, be a emergency majesty when you did it. Obvious hunting ground, wider view, that stuff's pretty standard. Running 3 Mind Numbs because I think Mind Numb actually does pretty well in here, along with 7 Governs, 1 Judgment, 1 Puppet Master. I'm really not sold on this card, especially with the small as the vampires are, but occasionally get that little pick off. We'll see really how it plays out. I'm going to be playing this deck a little more often because I really want to kind of bang this deck out. And then in the action modifier category, we're not looking at big bleeds here. So I'm not going for big conditioning. This is ethical bleeding. So we're going with bondings and we're going threats. No big bleeds, just the little ones, but enough to kind of put the pressure on. Sometimes people might be willing to accept the possibility of a 3, but when you're really potentially threatening for 5, 6, 7, the math changes. So I feel like I want to play around with this idea of like maintaining ethical bleeds to see if maybe more often you can get a hit in when you might not have otherwise if you had a 4 or a 5, and especially not when you're considering it also keeps you out of, being burned territory. Seduction's an obvious cycler, very cheap, very easy. Obviously, Perfect Paragon also gets us by some guys. We got Daring the Dawn for the emergency. This needs to happen at the end of the game, as well as a set of freak drives. 7 seems to be pretty good here. You get it just often enough to get enough multi-act without constantly running into them wishing you didn't have it and didn't need to just cycle through them. Although it's variable. People argue in different directions. A lot of deflections here. Could probably go down on the deflections. I'm thinking about dropping them down to like maybe 6. This has felt like a lot. Small amount on the QVs and small amount of second traditions. I've not had one of the second traditions start in a hand or end up in a hand at any point during a game. We'll see if that changes over time. And then, you're kind of your typical combat package, but really light. We're not going heavy on the walking sticks, just a pair of them. I don't know if you can see that down there, but I got 2 walking sticks down here that's being clipped off by the settings. Let me see if I can fix that for you here a little bit. Nope, it will not let me fix it. I'm sorry about that. But yeah, got 2 weighted walking sticks, got a pair of rollings, hidden strengths, and then a handful of majesties. I don't want to do this a lot. I'm thinking I may take up the walking sticks if I take down the deflections. That probably would be a better balance here, so that there's a very likely chance that change happens. But for now, this is what the deck is sitting at, and this is what the deck basically is when you see me play it in the special event. And there's one other game I play with this deck afterwards that is where there's a couple of small changes that you might notice between them. But overall, I think this deck runs pretty well, and especially considering this is a V5 deck that seems like it can put up pretty well with some much more comparable decks. If you got any feedback or any thoughts on it, please feel free to let me know. I always appreciate it. Always love talking about decks. But until I post up the next one, see you soon. Bye-bye.